So, after he gave them all the knowledge that they need to basically raise Emma, because, like I said before in the previous video, they do not know anything about raising a dragonborn princess. Now, eventually, Emma's mother does eventually start to get over her husband being gone. But she knows that eventually Emma's going to grow up and she's going to start questioning on where's her father? Or why was he not there to help raise her? But that's not the only problem that Emma's family will be eventually facing. Because during that time when that person who kind of gave Emma's family the knowledge that they need to raise a dragonborn princess, he also mentioned the fact that Emma is actually the most powerful of all the dragonborn princesses and prince. And the reason why is because her father was a god dragon. He was not just an ordinary dragon, he was a god dragon. So in other ways, you can say that kind of makes her like a demigod, you can say. A demigod dragon. Or something similar to that. And it's not long before Emma's old village does eventually find out about the little secret that Emma is basically a demigod dragon. And as a result, the chief of the village, well, at least the chief of the village, she heard about the news that Emma's father was actually a god dragon. And since Emma's mom basically gave birth to her, and since Emma's basically a demigod dragon, that means she's now a very, very valuable asset. Basically the key to power. So the chief, she ordered all of her most royal followers and her most royal people to go find her and bring her back to the village. So that way the chief can brainwash her and basically use her as her little weapon. And of course, Emma's mom eventually did hear about what her old village was planning to do. And of course, did everything she could to keep, with the help of her family, she did everything she could to keep Emma away from that village. Far away from that village. So the chief of the village grew restless when her followers could not find Emma. she basically grew restless every single day. So, over time, Emma's grandmother and uncles and her aunts and her grandfather, they were basically looking all over for her father. But they actually got word that he was killed by dragon hunters. So eventually, this drove Emma's mom into a very deep depression. To a very, very, very deep depression. She was basically so depressed that she could no longer bear to raise her child. So eventually, Emma's grandparents and her uncles and her aunts decide to basically raise Emma themselves. And basically this drove Emma to be very far away from her mom. The chief of the village, she still continued her search for Emma so she can get her hands on that power. And the worst part was she also had some competition, and that competition was her own mom. Basically, it was more like a race on who could ever get to Emma first. Whoever could get to Emma first basically would have the power to basically conquer all the lands, all the nations, everything. So this was more like a very, very, very dangerous time for Emma because she could not even understand why she was being hunted. But that's not the worst part. The worst part was that her mom got sick and then eventually died from her sickness because she just couldn't really you could say she refused to take the medicine. And now Emma was being raised by her uncles, aunts, grandmother, and grandfather. She never knew her father nor her mother. The only family members she does know is her uncles, aunts, and eventually her cousins, and her grandma and grandpa. They are the only family that she does currently do know.